Okay, so if you're like me, you watched a video on Python to learn it and you've done a few projects, and as you're learning to code something new, you still have questions about some of the syntax and functionality of what you just learned to code. I, like you and many, forget or overcomplicate or just forget, really. I know I already said that, but it's true, we forget. So I wanted to cover some of the basics of Python. And today we're going to talk about functions. I have a quick introduction and overview of Python functions, why they're useful, how to define and use them within your Python code. So let's break it down. In programming, a function is a named block of code that performs a specific task. So functions allow you to break down your code into smaller, reusable pieces, making it easier to manage, understand, debug, and honestly, read. When you can read your code and you understand everything, you're going to learn so much faster. Okay, so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to do 5 things. We're going to define a function. We're going to call a function. We're going to return values. We're going to work on parameters and arguments and some function documentation or docstrings. So when you define a function in Python, you're using the def keyword, followed by the function name and parentheses containing any parameters that the function takes. The body of the function is indented below the def statement. So as you can see here, we have defined our function, right? Define greet, parentheses name, that's how we define it. Now, when we call the function, okay, once the function is defined, and you can call it by using its name followed by parentheses. So if the function takes like parameters, you provide them within those parentheses. So again, when we take a look at function, we have the parameter, which is name, and call it greet, and then Alice right here is what we're actually calling. Okay, that's how we call the functions. So I went ahead and pre-typed this. It might be a little confusing. So returning values. So now when we return functions, values using the return statement. So this allows our functions to compute a result and pass it back to the code that called the function. So what does that mean? It means this. So when we call it, our result, right, would be Alice. Now here we have a function where we added x and y, and we need to return the sum of those two numbers. So we need to return x, y. The result equals add, because right here, we're adding, that's our plus symbol, so 3 and 5. And that we would print the result. So our output result would be 8, just like our output result would be hello Alice. Parameters are variables that are defined in the function definition. Arguments are the value passed in the function when it's called. Parameters receive the values of the arguments. Again, when we look at the code, our parameters are here. The result, our 5th and final, would be function documentation, docstrings. It's good practice to include a docstring as a brief description of the function's purpose, parameters, and return value. And you do this within triple quotes. And this helps other developers and myself understand how to use this function. So as you can see here, we have define, greet, name in parentheses. And then here's our function documentation in triple quotes, which is print a greeting message. So when we hit print hello plus the name, okay, and as you can see, we have that here, return the sum of 2 numbers. Using the code that we have, again, I've kind of pre-filled it, just to make sure. Relatively new with the whole YouTube and trying to teach somebody else something. But so I went ahead and pre-typed all this just so there was no major hiccups. But I will probably live stream some live coding where it's just more interactive with everybody, a little bit easier to ask questions or just watch me make a ton of mistakes because I'm still learning. So why not, right? It's awesome. Now, when we run the terminal, we're going to run our Python file. We will get hello Alice. The result should be 8. So if you followed the basic 5 steps on IDE, you will see that you should have hello Alice with 3 plus 5 as a result of 8. One of the reasons I like to check as I go with certain things, even something like this where I'm just kind of practicing some of those basics before I get too far, is just run the terminal. So just makes it easier. I mean, you be you, do you, whatever, boo, you got it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, because when you start getting into like, this is just a function. So this is super basic, super easy. But I wanted to break it down. But like when you start adding, functions and loops and variables and API calls and, all sorts of other stuff, and you're importing this and you're importing that. Next thing you know, you're like, whoa, what the hell's wrong with my code? It's not working. So if you just kind of take your time to, work on some of the basic fundamentals, remind yourself, because our brains will sit there and go, "Oh, I want to do this." And you start doing it. And then you come up with another idea and then another idea. And next thing you know, it doesn't seem like a lot, but you're 35 lines deep and now you're kind of lost. You're like, "Oh, what was I trying to do?" You know? So if you just kind of break down each area little by little and sort of explain what you're doing, I think you're going to see just faster results and more success. So functions are really fundamental building blocks in Python programming that are just used extensively in writing. We've kind of talked about it, clean, modular, and reusable code. What I'll do is in the description of the video below, I will have basically the 5 talking points that I had for my script here that you guys can use, and also include the practice code. Feel free to change it up. That's how I learned. I just grabbed something and was like, oh, I'm going to change, name to whatever. And then you just make your changes all the way through, and boom, next thing you know it, you're doing things. I'll also include a link to my LinkedIn and everything. Feel free to follow me over there. And I'm in the process of learning. And if anybody else is too and they want to learn, hit me up. Like, subscribe, comment, whatever. If anybody's interested in doing like a live coding session together where maybe we work on a project or we work on something fun, I say we do it. Learning is about having fun and just being excited about it. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.